Hassan, welcome. We are waiting for another 5 minutes so that others can join and then we can begin. Welcome, team. We are waiting for around 5 minutes so that others can join and then we can begin. We begin at 2:10. We are giving some another 4 minutes and then we'll be ready to start.
Yes. Which one? And they've come with another one.
Thank you, team. I was just giving another 2 more minutes for guys who are joining us, and then we will go ahead and begin. But in the meantime, the participants, because we'll be recording this particular session, you can actually just be able to type your details, your name, your email, your company, and then we'll be able to send all this that actually we are going to the training of today. And for those ones who are actually joining for the first time, is that today's training is going to be more practical. So we will actually be able to deal with the live things that are actually happening in the business world as far as taxation is concerned. So ideally, is that we will not go into a lot of theories. We'll actually concentrate our time. I've received several prior questions that your colleagues have actually posted where they would like me to address the issues, including the reforms that are happening in KRA. So my view is that is because you are a practical business people, you are doing what is in the field, you will actually be able to tackle most of those particular questions in this particular forum. And in case you have your own that will not have been tackled, you can actually type down there and be able to share with us. So when I'm responding to you, others also can learn from your experiences as far as tax audits, as far as the way KRA are undertaking their things, issues to do with compliance certificate, issues to do with the audits or several audits or several assessments that KRA are doing. In case you have an issue that you know it is personal, you can just type in, and I'll likely be able to handle it actually from a private wall that you're going to handle. But at the same time, let us make it open, so that everyone can be able to get where taxes are going, where we are going as a country and as an organization. And I like delivering this to most of the businesses. Most of our training are free. And the reason they are free is that we believe that as public accountants, we have a duty to actually educate everyone so that we can create wealth in the country. So allow me to begin. Others will join us as we go. As I said, that my name is Wycliffe Kibisu. I'm the tax partner and manager and founder of Tax Credit Consulting Ltd, which also partnered with the Tax World Africa. We have over 37 associates across the world, and we have what it takes to be able to respond to a question where possible as far as tax is concerned. I've been in tax for the last more than 10 years, serving most bigger corporates, and smaller conglomerates or smaller businesses that are there. But our target mostly is to target for smaller companies who eventually will become bigger companies. So allow me to go straight away and take on your screen, because I want to make a presentation that I have on PowerPoint. But the areas that I'm going to tackle is tax risk and business opportunities that arises as far as taxes are concerned. I'm actually going to talk about business-related taxes and opportunities. I'll talk about value addition VAT in terms of the VAT as per the businesses, and there's another animal called withholding VAT that are there. I'm going to talk about corporate, individuals, or turnover tax. Which one should businesses go to? And then I'll talk about rental income and payroll taxation. I'll talk about tax planning and management of tax. I'll talk about KRA audit reviews, or reviews and audits. And I'll also talk about withholding tax that are actually existing, and they are there as a regime. And then I'll talk about the tax amnesty, which actually will begin from January 2021. But I'm looking at it is that the rules that govern tax amnesty. And if we have more time, we'll actually try to talk about how the iTax operates and how it nets off taxpayers. We'll also talk about the issues to do with the ADR, alternative dispute resolution, and how to do tax dispute resolution as far as the taxpayer and KRA is concerned. So I believe after we have gone through that, you will actually have got a wider perspective as far as tax is concerned, and we can move as a team ahead be able to ensure that you get what is important as far as the taxation is concerned. So allow me to take on your screen as I make the presentation. You can be able to see the presentation on the screen? Now, most of the things that I'm going to handle, they emanate from the Finance Act 2020, but ideally is that others will come in which are up to date until yesterday. For the experiences as tax advisors and in our quest as we are serving clients, what we get on board in the relationship as far as care is concerned and our consultation with them. And I will be giving you information that in real time in the business world. Ideally is that some of the point of caution is that this is more to do with the specific cases that we are actually going to go through it, but cannot be able to be applicable to your business unless, because every business is unique. So ideally, if you have issues that are very unique to your business, please don't hesitate to actually raise up, and I'll use it from our particular perspective to support others as far as this is concerned. Now, allow me to go through this. I've always gone through it several times, but I'm going to do it again and again, because as these things are happening, as the Big Four is coming in, as the issue to do with the reforms, BBI, that is now coming in, tax will become a center stage as we go forward. Now, why? Because the desire for government is to get more money to finance the operation, including the operation that you see of BBI. They require money. And as you know, that a lot of the business indicators are showing that a lot of businesses are going down. So there will only be remaining smaller businesses or very few businesses that will be operating. So revenue authority of the government will be raising up mechanism to collect as much as possible from the only existing businesses. So this is the most important time any taxpayer who is still surviving in business should take caution, because he could actually go down as far as taxes is concerned if it's not take caution. Again, the incentive that the government is allowing as far as business is concerned. So this is actually what I'm going to talk about as far as I'm looking at it. You can see the Big Four agenda, which has always remained there. There's the reforms that are coming in, that the government is bringing in. Reform in terms of trying to curb corruption. And there is the major or the elephant in the room, the reform that actually leads to BBI. It will require finances. It will actually see some businesses coming down, stopping or not being up to optimal because of the things that are happening. But it's good that we talk about this as we look at it. A lot of us, we are looking at the chapter, even in the BBI, as far as taxes is concerned. Now, there's the tax holiday they're talking about of 7 years. Allow me to just comment on it, is that from a tax perspective, remember the first time is that we have to raise money enough to finance the various government units, including the increased mandate of giving 35% to counties. So without any tax being raised, then there's no money to distribute ourselves. So ideally, you will see a lot of aggressiveness from revenue bodies to collect the taxes as we go forward. Now, the key point that you need to understand is that tax matters for development. And there are always myths and facts about taxation in Kenya. This is what we have, a myth and what are facts about taxes. Remember, businesses collect taxes. That is a fact. And those taxes, either they remit to government, and if a business is not operating, then chances of it being able to pay tax is actually nil. So the first thing that is there is that the business must be operating, or an individual must be alive to pay taxes. If you are dead, you can't pay taxes. unless you had the estates that are still remaining behind, whereby there's the estate or inheritance tax. So the strengths and weaknesses of current tax reforms, I'll talk about it, and how governance-focused tax reforms can contribute to reduce inequality. So those are the things that I'm actually going to focus on. And this is actually what we are going to talk about today, if I have enough time. But I'll not go one by one, but in our discussion, we'll look at those topics that are there. Tax opportunities and risks for SMEs. Now, I began with opportunities because the tax regime in Kenya, it has both risks and opportunities. Why do I say opportunities? There are incentives that they have introduced in the tax legislation that if you don't take one can decide to take about it because he knows about it, another one will not take the incentive because they don't know about it. Mention incentive like a director being able to deduct pension scheme money, being able to be given insurance relief, being able to be given medical expenses, being able to get the national normal relief that was increased to up to 24,000 and not be paid tax. Those are the relief that are there that some people are not taking care of. So we talk about business-related taxes and opportunities. We talk about value-added tax and these opportunities. We talk about corporate tax, individual tax versus turnover tax. Why will I go towards turnover tax? Should I go to individual tax or should I go to turnover tax? Should I pay corporate tax or turnover tax? Then there's rental income and payroll taxation. Then we look about tax planning and the management of tax. Then we'll also look at KRA tax reviews. And of course, comes to the audits and the investigations. Then we look at the withholding tax. Then I'll also be talking about the amnesty, the opportunity for people who have sins can come and confess their sins. But when you confess your sins, they are not all forgiven. You pay the principal tax, but part of the sins are forgiven. That is the penalties and interest. So I'm looking at it, I'll also be talking about that issue. And I said within this KRA audit and the reviews, I'll actually try to slot in things to do with the issue to do with the dispute resolutions. If a dispute arises between a taxpayer and the KRA, or a taxpayer, you is you and the revenue authority, what should you do? If you are applying for a compliance certificate and you find you are stuck because there are money in the system that cannot be justified, there's a dispute. So how do you go forward resolving that dispute so that as a business person, get your compliance certificate and continue doing business? So why tax matters for development? Remember, tax is not an end, but a means towards a well-being citizen and a well-functioning state. Things that you need to do is the taxes, if designed well, can promote economic growth, can reduce extreme inequalities, and fund the delivery of the Vision 2030. And also, of course, the SDGs, that's Sustainable Development Goals. Depending on taxes requires states to develop tax capabilities. Rising tax revenues combined with economic growth can actually be able to at the eventual exit strategy out of aid dependence. We are looking at it as the country comes up with a tax regime to encourage growth. It is important that a lot of business will flourish, and when you pay taxes, then those businesses will ensure that the country moves from aid dependence. Now, I like sharing this picture again. Why? Because as a business person, you go and get a loan from the bank, begin your business, and when you have begun your business, you will start selling, if you are selling cement, there's no way you will sell the whole lorry of cement. You will sell one by one as cement. On the other side, there is government. When you have gone like a fisherman will, if you are fishing using a hook, especially SMEs. SMEs are guys who are selling either one packet of maize, one packet, one sack of unga. They can actually sell one bolt in a hardware. So as you're selling the one bolt, you are collecting money in terms of like a fisherman is taking one fish at a time. You don't have a net where you're collecting, trolling, and getting a lot of money. So this is an SME who is actually collecting one fish at a time. Now, remember, if you are not careful, the government can actually fish the whole basket. Now that's exactly what you're looking at it. As you are fishing one fish at a time, the government can fish the whole basket. And they can actually fish the whole basket through taxation. Like you have actually seen an organization they are demanding billions, but that organization could not even have a single shilling in the bank. SMEs, you can find that you are going to get a tax compliant. You don't have any money in the account, but KRA gives you a bill of around 20 million, or 2 million, or half a million. Yet even in your lifetime, you have never seen that half a million in your bank. That is just like you are fishing one fish into the basket, but the revenue authority wants to take the whole basket. Give an opportunity, they can do that. So that's exactly when you look at that picture, knowing that as an SME, you have to guard your basket. And how do you guard your basket? You guard your basket by taking into consideration the things that we are discussing today as far as tax compliance and tax management is concerned. For those ones who are joining us, this is always a free opportunity. Tax Credit Consulting Ltd and the Kenya Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Kakamega, will always be running through to ensure that all the businesses within the Kakamega and the vicinity of Western are able to get knowledgeable in tax and take opportunity that arises as far as the tax legislation is concerned, and ensure that also they avoid the risk that could actually end up taking the whole of their basket as they do their trade on a day-to-day basis. Now, there's another picture that you need to look at. Did you know that the government can sacrifice you? Yes, they can actually take you into the cross if you are not paid taxes. You have seen it right now. The trend has been that sometimes take people to court and prosecute them if they cannot pay taxes. And sometimes they come to you. You can see this guy. They have actually removed the pockets inside. It means they have taken everything. And the remaining thing is that they're saying that this guy, we can put him on the cross. Now, that's exactly what can happen to you as an SME if you do not comply or listen to the things that are there that are very obvious. Now, allow me, some people always say that eventually I will close if KRA does this. Now, did you know that they don't care if you close? Because there is actually the arm of government that collects. If you have never seen, sometimes that if you, as an SME, always avoid becoming so arrogant to revenue authorities, because they can actually operate the same way they operate, they're called what? The auctioneers operate. So majority of the time is that we are trying to train our businesses that you have an obligation to pay taxes, but you only have obligation to pay the rightful taxes. And you also have a right within the Constitution to take advantage of the incentive given as far as business is concerned. Now, a lot of people, or today as an SME, are you feeling secure? I just want to look at that question. Are you feeling secure today as far as taxes is concerned? Now, that is a kind of question that you need to ask yourself internally and answer yourself. But let me just share with you, nobody likes taxes, but they have been around forever. And given a chance, no one will pay taxes. That is why we have punitive measures for the guys who are evading. Majority of you remember the Bible. It is actually written long time ago, during the time of Jesus. Even there's a guy that the majority of the guys, you remember the tax collector? He was actually hated in the Bible. So don't imagine that the role they are playing is that it is only they have begun today. It dates back many years. Like in Matthew chapter 17, verse 24. For those who read the Bible, you realize that when Jesus was in Capernaum, there are guys who came to investigate whether he's paying taxes. And in fact, they went through Peter. But when Jesus asked Peter whether they are the ones to pay taxes, but Peter told him that the master does not pay. But Jesus demonstrated that whenever you are somewhere, obey the law. So that's why he decided to pay, went and I can send Peter to get a fish so he can pay his own taxes and Peter's taxes. So if you know that it was in the Bible, look at the trick the tax in the Bible, the tax guy who are investigating Jesus were doing. They actually went to the friend of Jesus, who was his disciple, Peter, and asked Peter whether the master was paying taxes. So who can KRA go to today? It is your friend to know whether you are paying taxes. Now, a friend anasema huyu jamaa ni mdozi lakini halipi tax. And that's exactly how they get you. Sometimes either they say, in fact, we know he has actually just constructed another house. Now, when they look at that house you have constructed and you have not paid a single shilling, then they would like to know where you got the money to construct the house. And that's exactly how they net people as far as tax is concerned. So it is not different from what was there in ancient times in the Bible. Now, I'm sharing with you these cases because you know, as a SMEs, even big companies are always found in trouble as far as tax money is concerned. That is a case of a bottling company. The KRA were demanding 5 billion. You can imagine, yes, 5 billion. Now, can you imagine? So it is not SMEs alone. Even big companies have challenges in terms of taxes. So here, a bottling company had misinterpreted the law. So they were paying taxes, but interpreted the law, and the law accumulated taxes into 5 billion. Now, can you imagine how many companies can be funded by 5 billion? How many health facilities can be funded by 5 billion? But check at the other side. Supposing you are the company, remove the billion and say 5 million. Participant today, supposing KRA comes and says that you overlooked somewhere, so you owe KRA 5 million. What will happen to you? Now, that's exactly also why we are having this particular session. I always tell taxpayers, don't panic. Sit on the table with them to demonstrate that you don't owe them 5 million. Sit to them on the table with them and demonstrate that you don't owe them 5 billion. Now, is the board responsible? Now, if you are an SME, you are the CEO, you are the board. So are you responsible for taxes? Now, that's actually the case that you heard about Keroche. We are sharing this because it's a public knowledge, and we pick them because they are cases that actually are R&D. So you can see the beer price is likely to increase as Keroche company loses bottle blending excess tax case. And you remember, for those who are aware, that this was actually much more than this. So was the board responsible here? The answer is yes. The board, some of the board members were even taken to court. So as a board member, as an SME, you are a board member, you are a CEO, you are everything. Are you responsible? The answer is yes, for taxes. Now, this actually was the case. Look at the amount of money that was being demanded. To be specific, is it money? Is it scary? The answer is yes. That amount is scary, and no accountant, no business person is prepared for such amount of money. And when they come to the case, you have lost. Tax affects your health and your wealth and your health. So such amount of money, if it was 9 million on your side as an SME, it means that that day, or you will take several years without sleeping, and you develop a disease that you have never had in your lifetime. That's exactly why we are having this presentation. So board and the executive engagement. Now we are actually saying that I'll run here because you are looking at it, the board has to spell out, or the business has to spell out how risky they are and they are doing their operations. Now, where does KRA get information? These are the key risks where KRA gets information. As an SME, do you have a website? You will go and brag in your website how you are doing very well, yet you are not paying any single cent in taxes. So if you are doing very well and you're not paying a single cent in taxes, they will look at your return. You will likely do a press release And some guys used to have what you call movers and shakers. You will go to movers and shakers and show how you began from nothing, and right now you have around 20 buses. Now that's also information for revenue authority. Industry sector reports. If you are a school or you are running a hardware, in that hardware you could be the one who is doing very well and everyone is buying from you. So why is it that you are not paying taxes? KRA can get information through that. Guidance on typical tax risk areas. KRA are doing what you call risk averse, like contractors are the biggest area that KRA look at it as tax. So when they are decide to say that this is a risky area, they will go and audit them because it's a risk center. Then processes. Then there is a national campaigns. So you actually know that they do campaigns. There's also an inquiry and a history. If last month you paid PayYE 20,000, and this month you are paying PayYE 1,000, history shows that why did you pay 20 and now you are paying 1,000? So they'll come and look at the history and use that history to know that this person might either is cheating or is winning, and we need to see the people that they have left out. Now, remember, taxes, failure to pay taxes can actually land directors or owners of business into jail. I repeat, failure to pay taxes in required amount, the KRA has powers to actually prosecute you, and you can go to jail under the issue of money laundering. So let us just know that chief executive and the board and owners of businesses, you are under tax risk are so real that they can actually finish you in wealth and finish you in wealth, in health and wealth. So taxes fall under operational risk. And there are two areas. There are the below the line taxes and above the line taxes, which mostly we call it transactional taxes. Now, transactional taxes, which is the example of transaction taxes, they are very not easy to see them, but they are the ones that brings organization down. Like the 9 billion or the 5 billion you saw there, they are not the below the line taxes. They are not the taxes made for that organization. They are taxes that they should have deducted from the third party that they failed to deduct from the third party. For while there are SMEs, let me put it simply like this. A lot of you, sometimes you are appointed to be withholding VAT agent. Now, you withhold from the payment you are making. In the event you fail to withhold the withholding VAT payment, the withholding VAT becomes your liability. Not that you have made profit, it's because you have failed to withhold from the supplier you are paying. So automatically it crystallizes and becomes your tax. There's withholding tax. There's VAT that you should charge a supplier, your customer. If you don't charge the customer the VAT, then these taxes crystallize to become your tax, and you are supposed to pay. There are taxes that you are supposed to withhold from your employee. You fail to pay, deduct from the employee and pay, the taxes and penalties come to you. Now, the big picture is that taxes can curtail strategy and organizational reputation. Now, this is actually the thing that I want you to understand. That 85% of the mistakes in taxes arise from communication or miscommunication. The technical side is only 15%. So as a lay person in tax, if you are able to communicate well and actually give training to your staff or to your businesses, you actually evade the risk, which is 85%. Now, the other remaining 15% that you are not a tax guru can only be handled by people like us, but are not as bad as the 85%. Communication, miscommunication or lack of communication. Now, allow me to introduce to you, I've talked about the issue of turnover tax, or TOT. The tax was introduced in the Finance Act 2019, and it was to be effective on 1st, and it was effective on 1st of January 2020. Now, in 2020, Tax Amendment Act 2020, the rate was amended from 3% to 1%. Now, this now taxes also was expanded to include individuals and now corporates. And the rate, of course, it is still 1%. Also applies to persons registered for VAT with turnover less than 50 million. So you know that when you reach 5 million, you are supposed to register for VAT. So when you are registered for VAT after 5 million, it means that you are subjected to two kinds of taxes: the TOT at 1% and the VAT at the normal 14%. So personal with businesses from 1 million to 5 million or and above me. So this is actually the area that we need to look at under this. So if you have businesses that run from 1 million to 50 million, you are actually eligible to register for TOT. At the same time, if you have your turnover reaches 5 million, you're supposed to register for VAT. I want that to make that clarification. Between 1 and 5 million and below 5 million, you are only eligible to register for TOT. But when your turnover goes beyond 5 million and above, you register for both TOT and VAT. So you need to start charging VAT from 5 million and above. Now,